Narcissist Ninjas here. It's surely been a while. How do everyone have all this time to make YouTube videos? I don't know. My life is like a whirlwind. I can barely breathe. During the day, I have so much to do, so much to fill in. I kind of wish I could sit down and do videos all day. It would be so cool. And I kind of sort of envy the people who do this full time and actually can earn a living because you learn so many things. It's a good way to express. I like it. Now, uh, I wanted to just weigh in on this Anne Heche situation. I've been hearing so many different things and seeing so many um, commentaries about it, and some of it is kind of disturbing because what I'm understanding about the world is that it's like we're totally separated right now into a camp that has no clue about narcissism and a camp that seems to either be coming to understand it or does have a very wide and deep understanding of it. And I would like to think I'm in the camp of understanding it, seeing it, recognizing it. And I just have to weigh in on this because I did put up a TikTok video and I had some negative comments because people didn't like that I put up a phrase that says narcissism kills. And I guess maybe they misinterpreted. I thought that I was saying Anne Heche was a narcissist or something. I don't know, but I didn't take it down because I think it is important when things happen that we examine and look at it. And then I had another friend that said, "You think everything revolves around narcissism." And guess what? I kind of do. I kind of do. I see when I examine the roots and the behaviors and the different things in this world, you can almost 100% pinpoint it back to a narcissist or set patterns of narcissism that cause destruction. And I do. I'm sorry, that's where I'm at. It may change, may not. I'm getting older, so it probably won't change at this stage. But what I have found out about this lady, I grew up with Anne Heche, basically. You know, she was in all the movies of my youth, and she was around the time, you know, her coming out was around the time when I was a very young person. She was, you know, in that relationship with Ellen, and all these different things, you know, impacted my world as a young person. And, you know, Anne Heche is one of those stars that she was an incredible actress, but kind of was still on a very light or not held up to the stardom I think that she justly deserved, to be honest with you. And I saw, you know, as I examined her life as she got older, it looked like, you know, things got the better of her again. Her emotional health creeped in and kind of destroyed her. You can see in just her videos and just her later works, her acting stayed the same, on point. But when you see her in interviews and you see her in her podcast and you see different videos, I tell you, a place that you can really see how she was going down was on the TikTok. You could tell there that she was getting kind of more fragile mentally and just not her same strong self. Sorry, my bird's in the background doing a clicking. That's if you hear that, that's attention-seeking behavior. I hope she's not a narcissist. All right. So anyway, like I said, I spent ever since I heard about her and saw those videos. I had trouble watching those videos of the car speeding by. That was kind of traumatic to see that and hearing the crash. Um, But I examined her life and did a lot of reading and different things for the past couple of weeks to get, really think this through. And what I come to understand about Anne is that she was deeply, deeply traumatized as a young girl and as a kid. And though she, did her best to overcome it, she did all the right things. She went to therapy. She tried to make her life better. She stayed working. All these different things she did to the best of her ability, I believe. But in the end, I think the results of narcissism got her. And I mean, we don't know for sure, right? Um, but So, one of the quotes, I was trying to find her book that she wrote, right? Her autobiography. It is now on Amazon. It's actually out of print. So, to get a copy is over like $500. And that's very interesting. If you look up there, there's like almost 100 or more biographies that people immediately uploaded. So they must have stayed up all night, some of these companies, and made biographies of Anne Heche to kind of cash in on her passing, which is really disgusting when you look at how the the whole system works. I didn't know that, that's a thing. And it's kind of disgusting. Just go up on Amazon and put in Anne Heche's name. You will see. I said, "Oh, okay. There's her autobiography. Here's her biography." When I looked at them, they were all uploaded the day she died or the day she was in the accident. I'm like, "Are you serious?" And they're all these different obscure companies and people, and it's really disgusting. So I didn't purchase any of those, and I was looking for her autobiography. It is, like I said, it's out of print, so it's 500 something bucks. But I did find an audio now that's been uploaded on YouTube. I hope, nothing happens, that it will be taken down. I will link it in this description here so that anyone wants to listen to Anne Heche in her own words tell her story. That's the mouth you got to listen to. You go right to the source. And she had a family that in many ways denied, and that's the way narcissists are in a family structure of narcissism. There's denial, there's the outliers, there's the flying monkeys that attach themselves to narcissists, do not want to admit things that happen that are foul and disgusting. And the victim lives with the fact that they are carrying sometimes the weight of the family trauma, which is really disgusting, but it is how family systems of narcissism work. There is usually a scapegoat, and I believe that Anne and her family was the scapegoat because she came out admitting what was happening in her family. And of course, the crazy label gets put on her, right? And her behavior in reaction to a dysfunctional system um, looks crazy, but it's a coping mechanism to a structure that was in itself crazy. I like this one quote. Her mom spoke in an octave that made her cringe, and her tone of her voice raised over the years with guilt. That was a very interesting twist of how she said it. And then she also quoted, a quote from her was, "The closer I get to the truth, the higher the octave got in her mom's voice." That sent chills down my spine because it made me understand her at a deep level and the denial that she was living with in her family. And I think her sister as well came out and said, "No, nothing bad happened in our family. Our family is perfect." And when she was young as well, her brother ran into a tree and died on the road, and very similar to the way that Anne Heche passed. Now, they ruled it an accident and said he fell asleep, but Anne seemed to think that he committed suicide. And she lived with that. And I think she had some guilt feeling about her brother because she felt, I think, that she could have protected him and didn't. Or I mean, she was only a kid too. So when you come out of dysfunction and you come out of years living in a narcissistic environment, your coping skills just to survive, you cannot, there is oftentimes no way you can protect anyone else. You are just struggling to survive yourself. And I kind of believe that that's what happened with that young man. And she lived with that, and it tortured her, even though she didn't come out and talk about it a lot. But you can see in her expressions and in different things and the way she talks about that incident that it was torture for her. Her mother as well is suspected to have committed suicide, and her mother sounds like she was a monster, a real monster. And so Anne has this cluster of suicidal behavior in her family. Now, do we know for a fact that Anne Heche committed suicide? Of course we don't. Could something have gone wrong with the car? Yeah, but it doesn't kind of look like that, right? Because she bumped into another area before going on the road and speeding, and she was confronted and wouldn't stop. And then also there was cocaine found in her system. So these things kind of indicate that it was a purposeful event. Now, could she have been under some kind of psychotic break or high and thought she was on a raceway and or someone was chasing her and she had to get away? I mean, there are all these different possibilities, right? But in the end, there is a suspicion that it could have been suicidal behavior, right? And even if it wasn't, the whole thing of how it happened was incredibly sad, incredibly disturbing, and is a reaction. Just even drug addiction, if you're saying, okay, well, she was just high and she just didn't know where she was doing, where she was. Even that in itself is a coping mechanism when there's so much internal struggle and pain. Oftentimes, that's what addiction is. When we look at addicts, I think the world is starting to wake up and realize, yes, when people are under the influence and in that mode, it's ugly, and people still have to be held accountable, right? And if she had lived, she would have been held accountable for what she did. I just want to put some respect on the situation, though, and understand that this lady was suffering and had been suffering for many years. And I truly believe, from what I read about her, and when you listen to her own voice reading that book, I believe she did everything possible she could to overcome the narcissistic pattern that was in her life. But be honest with you, I think it got her. I think it got her in the end, and she couldn't cope with it. It was too much. And that's why I do this channel. It's a little tiny wee speck of a channel. My blog, that's why I write my blog. I haven't written for a while, but that's why I put my page up on Facebook, Narcissist Ninjas. That's why I do this, because of stories like Anne's that are in a way a lot like my own, right? in the end, there'll never be enough information out there on narcissism. And I love that people say, oh, it's a catchphrase. It's catch. No, what's happening is that the world is starting to understand what narcissism is, and it's coming out. And I think all kids should be taught. I think it should be a part of school, to be honest with you, about how narcissistic abuse can affect environments and help kids recognize it around them. In the end, Anne Heche wanted to be remembered as a mother. And it all looks like, except for the end, it looks like she really was, except for the ending. It looks like she was a great mother. Now, a lot of people would say, hey, if you're a great mother, would you engage in cocaine? Would you engage in the kind of activity that ended her life? It's that's a tough one. That's a tough one, right? But I think she could have been triggered into something that just made her lose her coping skills. She looked like, in her last few TikTok videos, she just did not look healthy, you know? And in her last podcast, she didn't sound healthy. So she could have been just on a downward spiral. I'm not going to say that because of that time in her life, the end. I'm not going to say that she was overall a bad mother, because I felt good vibes from what I was reading and hearing her kids and stuff like that she was a decent mother. And that's what she wanted to be remembered for, mostly, right? But in the end, I think the more we learn about narcissism and what it can do to people and the destruction it causes is very important. And we have to keep educating the public with our own experience, with our own stories. And bless Anne Heche. My heart is filled with love for that lady. Take care.